The idea of an unexpected revelation hinges on the collision between the ordinary and the extraordinary. A bar is usually a place of routine noise, spilled drinks, half-shouted conversations, and the subtle undercurrent of tensions that come when bikers, regulars, and wanderers mix in one space. Everyone plays their role. The bartender polishes glasses and keeps watchful eyes on trouble before it boils over. The waitress moves quickly and quietly, balancing trays, remembering who ordered what, and wearing the kind of smile that keeps her from looking like prey in a den of rowdy men. The bikers perform their part too, laughing louder than anyone else, slapping backs, and establishing dominance through presence alone. On any given night, all of these roles are predictable, almost mechanical, like parts of a script. That is why when something unscripted happens, it crashes into the atmosphere like a brick through glass. The incident begins as a scrap, nothing unusual in a place like this. A biker reaches out, maybe to grab at the waitress's arm, maybe in jest, maybe not. The gesture is rough, clumsy, or deliberately careless. The waitress twists to pull away, her tray tipping dangerously. In the struggle, his hand catches the fabric of her shirt, and with one sudden motion, the thin cotton tears down the seam. It is the kind of accident that usually sparks laughter, catcalls, maybe embarrassment on her part and smugness on his. A torn shirt is a small spectacle, one that fits neatly into the rowdy culture of the bar. But what is revealed underneath is not expected, not ordinary, and not the sort of thing anyone there has words prepared for. The revelation comes in the form of a mark etched across her skin. At first, the eye struggles to comprehend what it sees. The light is dim, neon flickers from a beer sign, and the collective gaze of the crowd narrows to the exposed patch of flesh. It might be a tattoo, but not the casual ink of names or flames or skulls that the bikers themselves wear. This one is deliberate, ancient-looking, precise. It could be a scar, raised and patterned, the kind that speaks of rituals no one wants to think about. It might be a symbol with jagged lines and curves that seem too intentional to be random, too complex to be dismissed as body art chosen on a drunken dare. The longer people look, the more it seems to carry weight, as if the air itself becomes charged with a strange electricity. What freezes the bar is not just the mark itself but the recognition it stirs in a handful of those present. Some of the older bikers, the ones with eyes that have seen more than they admit, suddenly stop grinning. The bartender sets down the glass he was drying and leans forward, his jaw tightening. Even those who cannot place what they are seeing feel the shift in atmosphere, the sudden silence that falls heavy, pressing against their ribs. The waitress herself does not scramble to cover up, as might be expected. Instead, she holds still, her breathing steady, her eyes fixed on the biker who ripped her shirt. The stillness is what unsettles everyone. It suggests she knew this moment might come, that the mark was not something she had forgotten about or dismissed but something she lived with daily, waiting for the inevitable time when it would be exposed. The revelation of such a mark triggers imaginations to race. Every onlooker begins constructing their own version of what it means. One sees it as military, a remnant of some special unit long since buried in secrecy. Another imagines cult ties, a ritual branding from a forgotten society whispered about only in rumors. Someone else thinks of family, old outlaw connections, blood ties that stretch back decades, the kind of inheritance no one can easily shake. The ambiguity of the mark is its power. It is not a simple image but one layered enough that every mind projects its own fears and associations onto it. That is why the entire bar freezes, not because they all understand the same thing but because each of them understands something personal and terrifying from it. The biker who caused the reveal is the most unsettled of all. His action was meant to dominate, to show her as smaller, weaker, a target of amusement. But now he finds himself face to face with something beyond his control. His laughter falters first, his hand hangs awkwardly in the air, and his eyes flicker with uncertainty. He knows he has pulled back a curtain on something he was never supposed to touch. For a man who thrives on bravado, the sudden loss of certainty is devastating. He feels the shift in the room not just around him but against him, as if every gaze that once laughed with him now watches in judgment, waiting to see how he reacts. The waitress's silence is an answer in itself. She does not explain, she does not rush to cover herself, nor does she flaunt the mark. She lets it exist in the open, lets the weight of it settle over the bar until every breath feels heavy. This composure makes the mark more than ink or scar, it transforms it into a symbol of identity, something that defines her in ways the crowd cannot yet comprehend. By not speaking, she forces the others to fill the silence with their own conclusions, and those conclusions are almost always darker and more powerful than anything she could say aloud. Details matter here. The light that strikes the symbol seems almost too perfect, highlighting its lines in ways that bring them alive. The air conditioning hums but goes unnoticed, the clinking of a glass seems distant, and time stretches unnaturally, as if the world itself is pausing to witness. The bartender's hands clench on the counter, his knuckles whitening. A patron in the back lowers his pool cue and stares. Even the jukebox song that was filling the space seems muted, like the atmosphere itself has bent around the sight of this mark. Some may recognize it outright. An older man at the corner table might mutter a curse under his breath, a word no one else catches but one that trembles with recognition. Perhaps a younger biker remembers an old story told by his father about a group, a movement, a tragedy linked with such a symbol. The waitress herself watches these small reactions with unflinching calm, as if she were gauging who knows the truth and who does not. The revelation is not only about exposing her secret but also about revealing who in the room is connected to that secret, who understands, who fears, and who is ignorant. The shock is communal but not uniform. Some stare in awe, some in fear, and some in calculation. There is an edge of respect in a few eyes, the kind given when one realizes they are in the presence of someone who carries a history larger than their own. Respect, however, does not erase fear, and fear can turn into violence as easily as reverence. That possibility hangs in the air, unspoken but potent. The biker who ripped her shirt senses it too. His bravado has collapsed, but pride pushes him to speak, to reclaim control of the moment. Yet every time he opens his mouth, the mark stares back at him, silencing the words before they form. His companions are no help, even they look at him differently now, as if his careless gesture has placed them all in danger or debt. The unexpected revelation lingers because it destabilizes the order of the room. The waitress was supposed to be background, service, decoration, someone on the periphery of the real stories being lived by the bikers and patrons. In a single moment, she becomes the center, the axis on which everything turns. The exposure of the mark reconfigures relationships, shatters assumptions, and forces everyone to reassess the roles they thought they understood. Suddenly, the waitress is not the weakest person in the room but perhaps the most dangerous, or the most powerful, or the most deeply connected to something beyond their comprehension. The revelation is not just visual but existential, a tearing away of the fragile illusion that they knew the boundaries of their world. The shift in power that takes place when a secret is revealed in a charged setting like a bar does not happen all at once. It unfolds in stages, each moment altering the perception of everyone involved until the original hierarchy collapses and a new one is established. At first, the power in the room belongs firmly to the bikers. They are loud, they dominate space with their laughter, their heavy boots on the floor, their cigarettes glowing in the dim light. Their presence alone tilts the balance of the room in their favor. The bartender knows not to cross them too directly, and the waitress, like she does every night, moves with caution around them, careful to dodge their hands and ignore their comments. This is their kingdom, or at least they believe it to be, and in such a kingdom the waitress is invisible except when she serves their needs. When the shirt tears and the mark is revealed, the first effect is silence. Silence in a noisy space is never neutral, it is heavy, almost violent in its abruptness. In that silence the rules of the room begin to unravel. The biker who tore her shirt, whether by accident or arrogance, suddenly feels the weight of eyes not laughing with him but fixed on him with expectation. The power he thought he wielded with that grab vanishes. It leaks out of him like air from a punctured tire, leaving him deflated and unsure. In its place, the waitress stands steady, her composure the sharpest weapon she possesses. For years, perhaps, she has carried the knowledge of what lay hidden beneath her clothes, and now that it is exposed, she chooses not to recoil. Her stillness radiates a strength that unsettles everyone. The shift in power is not just about her. It is about the crowd. People who once looked through her now look at her, their gazes tethered to the symbol carved into her skin and to the poise with which she bears it. The crowd's attention is power, and all of it is hers in that moment. Even those who do not understand what the mark means can feel that it means something, and that vague sense of meaning is more dangerous than clarity. Mystery inflates significance, and significance demands respect. She has not demanded it verbally, but the room offers it through silence, hesitation, and stares. The bartender does not rush to cover her up or chastise the biker. Instead, he leans closer, his expression tense, as if bracing for something. This small act signals that the power dynamic has shifted. he no longer sees her as someone who needs protecting but as someone around whom protection might be needed. The biker stands at the edge of two choices: to laugh it off and reassert his dominance, or to acknowledge the shift and risk losing face. Either choice is dangerous. If he mocks what has been revealed, he risks angering forces he cannot name but instinctively fears. If he concedes, even through silence, he surrenders his position in front of his brothers. He hesitates, and in hesitation, power drains further away. His friends, who should be his backup, are no help. Their eyes are just as fixed on the waitress, and in those eyes there is doubt. Once doubt enters a group bound by bravado, their unity cracks. The biker is isolated, and isolation is weakness. The waitress, by contrast, grows stronger in the silence. Her decision not to flinch, not to scramble, not to offer excuses is itself an assertion of control. By doing nothing, she forces everyone else to act around her. The room revolves around her stillness. She is no longer a server of drinks and food but the unspoken center of gravity. Power in such spaces is not always loud. Sometimes it is the ability to command silence, to anchor attention without effort. That is what she has achieved. The bikers, who thrive on making noise, cannot compete with it, because noise cannot penetrate silence that carries weight. Whispers might begin in corners of the bar. Someone older, someone who has seen more than they care to admit, may murmur about the mark. Recognition spreads in fragments, like sparks in dry grass, but even those who do not recognize it begin to act as though they should respect it. Fear is contagious, and reverence often grows from fear. When one man stiffens, others stiffen too, unsure but unwilling to risk disrespecting something they do not understand. In this way the crowd itself reinforces the waitress's newfound power, not because she demanded it, but because they grant it to her in order to soothe their own unease. The biker who ripped her shirt has become a fool in the room's eyes, though no one says it aloud. He is the one who lifted a veil and showed them something they cannot unsee, and in doing so he has become the agent of his own undoing. Where he meant to humiliate, he has elevated. Where he meant to dominate, he has submitted without realizing it. Every second he stands there, frozen and uncertain, is a second that the waitress's authority grows. Her calm becomes contrast to his fumbling, and in contrast, she shines brighter, fiercer. This shift in power is not temporary. Once an image takes root in a crowd's imagination, it is impossible to erase. Even if she were to cover herself again and go back to carrying drinks, no one would ever look at her the same way. Every trace she carries afterward will be seen through the lens of the secret now known. The biker gang, who once might have treated her as nothing more than background noise, must now reckon with the possibility that they have underestimated her. Some may be drawn to her, others may resent her, but none can dismiss her anymore. Power, once shifted, rarely returns to its old balance. The most striking element of this power shift is that it is unspoken. No fists are thrown, no shouts exchanged. The battle is fought in silence, in posture, in glances. She stands straight, and in doing so she claims authority without declaring it. He stands uncertain, and in doing so he loses authority without realizing it. The crowd chooses its side not out of loyalty but out of instinct, gravitating toward the figure who embodies strength in that moment. In bars, strength is currency, and the waitress has just become rich with it. The longer the silence lingers, the deeper the shift solidifies. The jukebox might click into another song, but no one hears it. Glasses remain half raised but untouched. Conversations that were half finished stay abandoned. The mark, the revelation, and her composure eclipse everything else. The biker may try to speak eventually, to recover what he has lost, but the weight of the room will crush his attempt. Even if he forces a laugh, it will sound hollow. Even if he throws a joke, it will fall flat. The authority he once carried with his voice now belongs to her silence. What makes this shift so powerful is its permanence. Even if the night continues, even if drinks flow and fights break out later, everyone will remember this moment. The waitress is no longer the woman who carries their orders. She is the one who stood still while the whole room froze. She is the one who carried something beneath her clothes that none of them had the courage to question. She is the one who turned silence into a weapon sharper than any blade. From that moment forward, she cannot return to her old role, because power, once revealed and claimed, can never be put back in its box.